Hey everybody! How you doing? All you stuck in your homes, well have I got a treat for you. Today we're going to be looking at a history of the Stations of the Cross. The stations as we know them today took a long time to develop. They haven't always been in churches as they are today. Originally, the stations were the locations in Jerusalem where Jesus suffered. The first person the church tradition maintains visited the stations in prayer was our mother, Mary. There may have been others who visited these sites as well, but after the destruction of the temple in Jerusalem, while people did pray at these locations, it was still illegal to be a Christian and show your devotion at these sites for fear of persecution and martyrdom. In the 4th century, after the Battle of Milvian Bridge took place and Constantine legalized Christianity, pilgrims were once again free to visit the Holy Land and worship in these places openly. Many of the pilgrims walked the sorrowful way of Jesus' passion and death, also known as the Via Dolorosa. Constantine's mother, St. Helena, was both a true Christian and a mystic. As a mystic, she had a very special ability to detect relics, like the true cross, the thorns from the crown of Jesus, and even the nails with which he was crucified. She brought many of these relics with the help of her son back to Europe, especially Rome, in which many of these objects are still present. In the 5th century, certain places in Europe were given the privilege to make reproductions of some of these holy places in Jerusalem near their churches. These were outdoors and were not yet stations of the cross as we know them. Around the 12th century, Franciscans were given the responsibility for caring for the holy sites in the Holy Land. The Pope offered indulgences for those who came and prayed at these holy sites, later known as stations. Some of these stations were the Praetorium of Pilate, where Christ met his mother, where Jesus spoke to the women, where Simon of Cyrene helped Jesus carry his cross, and finally, where Jesus was stripped, crucified, and buried. Around the 15th century, an English pilgrim, William Way, was the first person to term the name Stations of the Cross. After the last Crusades ended in failure, unable to take back the Holy Land from the Muslims, more and more reproductions of the Holy Land were made outside of churches for people to pray who were unable to make pilgrimage to the Holy Land. In the 17th century, Stations of the Cross as we know them today began to be erected in various churches around Europe. Pope Innocent XI gave indulgences to those praying stations during this time. The following Pope, Pope Benedict XIV, encouraged all churches to begin installing Stations of the Cross. Since the 17th century, these have been the traditional Stations of the Cross as we know them. Jesus is condemned to death. Jesus takes up his cross. Jesus falls for the first time. Jesus meets his mother. Simon helps Jesus carry his cross. Veronica wipes the face of Jesus. Jesus falls for the second time. Jesus speaks to the women of Jerusalem. Jesus falls for the third time. Jesus is stripped of his garments. Jesus is nailed to the cross. The death of Jesus. Jesus is given to his mother. And finally, Jesus is buried. Thank you for joining in this lesson. If you desire as a family, you can put images of Stations of the Cross in your home that you might make yourselves or draw so that you can make this journey as so many pilgrims did in the past. You can also make a simple cross out of wood or out of paper so you can carry the cross and step by step make this journey with Jesus. I'll soon be releasing